Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? I see you've come back for more. If you're new here, buckle up. And thank you all for joining me today. My name is DeRay, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. Today's film review will be on mystery thriller Afterlife.
See you right now, please. That's possible.
I'm sorry. It's not possible. You're not family.
Please, give me 5 minutes.
I do understand, Mr. Cole.
You don't understand! You don't understand!
In this tale, after a woman has an argument with her boyfriend, she gets into a car accident and wakes up in a morgue. The mortician tells her that she died in a car accident and that he has the ability to communicate with the dead as they transition into the afterlife. But she doesn't believe him at first. Christina Ricci is amazing as usual playing Ann Taylor, and Justin Long plays her boyfriend, Paul. Liam Neeson is the mortician and nails the creep factor. And yes, Christina Ricci is naked for a good portion of the film, but there are other reasons to love it. This is another personal favorite of mine, and I have a somewhat unpopular opinion of it. You most definitely have to suspend your belief when you watch this one. I've mentioned before that some of the scariest things to me are things that can actually happen right now in the real world. But I do also enjoy fantasy, so when I see these two things become intertwined, real life possibilities and fantasy, I can definitely enjoy it. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the film without spoilers for a bit, but once I start to get into them, I'll give you some warning. This film keeps you guessing all the way through, even until the very end. You're kind of just left thinking, what just happened? It might take 2 or 3 watches to really understand what's going on. There's not a whole lot about the making of this film. The director, as Agnieszka Wójtowicz-Vosloo, wrote the story and then had 2 colleagues help her write the screenplay. She attended Tisch School of the Arts, and her short film, Pancake, premiered at Sundance and won a ton of awards. She was one of Filmmaker magazine's top 25 new faces of independent film. Afterlife premiered at the AFI Film Festival in LA on November 7th in 2009. It's really unusual not to be able to find interviews from the festival or even some behind the scenes stuff, but there's really nothing, as Agnieszka hasn't done anything since Afterlife according to IMDb, which kind of adds to the creep factor a bit. She says she's always been obsessed with death. It's something that she thinks about on a daily basis. When she was 10, she lost her father on Christmas Day and was the one who found his body. This incident further intensified her fascination with death, but not in a morbid way. In this film, we're exploring the idea that people have a consciousness in the in-between time between death and being laid to rest. The cinematography is very artsy, and I love the detail that it shows. The first scene shows a shower head, and even though nothing scary is happening, I'm still on edge because of the music and the different camera angles. Sure enough though, the shower does come back later in a more haunting way. Despite the holes that might be observed in the writing, we're going on a super fun ride with lots of ups and downs and twists and turns. Even though you might figure out right away what's going on, it's hard to tell what's going to happen in the end. Similar to the autopsy of Jane Doe, where taking part in a mystery and trying to put clues together to come to a sensible conclusion. The acting from all 3 leads is wonderful, and I didn't realize until I did my review on Tusk just how many of my favorite horror films that Justin Long is in. He got his start in Jeepers Creepers, and he's been in Drag Me to Hell and obviously Tusk. All 4 of these films get high ratings from me. Liam Neeson is masterful at creating tension where tension needs to be created. His stare is unwavering and piercing. Moments between he and Ricci push us so close to the edge but never give us that satisfying confrontation. And for some folks, I can see how that can be annoying, but for me, it just got me excited for what was to come. I could be a bit biased though, because in my eyes, Christina Ricci can do no wrong. I'm buying whatever the hell she's selling. Some of my favorite Christina Ricci films are Casper, Now and Then, Mermaids, Buffalo 66, Monster, Sleepy Hollow. There's just so many. Leave me a comment telling me your favorite Christina Ricci film. Okay, so here I'm going to start getting into some spoilers, so if you don't mind hearing them, stick around. So some of the folks who gave this film a low rating really didn't like how some of the things didn't seem plausible or didn't seem to make sense. They also didn't like the fact that at the end of the film, it's hard to tell whether or not she's dead. After watching it a second time, it's clear to me that she is definitely alive the entire time. I would have been sure the first time, but one of the last scenes, you see the breath of Anne go into Paul, and that kind of made me second guess myself. Elliot saw Anne at the funeral home and he recognized the fact that she was unhappy. In a Jigsaw type of way, he takes it upon himself to decide that she no longer deserves to be on this earth because she doesn't appreciate what it has to offer. He drugged her, paralyzing her, and wanted to keep her captive and teach her a lesson in life and show her that she wasn't appreciating all the things that she should have. And now she must accept her fate and go into the afterlife peacefully. This all happens within a course of a couple of days between the time that she dies and her funeral. There are complaints about her not having bodily functions or not eating during this time. This is where we have to suspend our belief just a bit and kind of say, well, hey, maybe the director didn't want to show the scenes where Anne is completely knocked out, feces on the table, and Elliot's having to clean it up. Also, the drugs that he is continually pumping into her could be slowly killing her and also suppressing her appetite. Therefore, she's becoming weaker by the minute, and we can see that sometimes she's barely even able to stand. And this leads me into another scene that some people find really troublesome. There's a part where Elliot leaves and he accidentally forgets his keys. After he's pumped gas and paid for it is when he notices it and rushes back home before Anne can get too far. And while he might have been gone for a long time and she should have been long gone by now, it made sense to me because she's weak and this ring of keys is huge, and when she's trying to unlock the door, one of them breaks, so she's having to use the little bit of strength that she does have to get the key out of the hole. So I let it slide because she's weak and she probably wouldn't get far even if she was given even more time. This scene is another reason why it's obvious to me that she's clearly alive, because why would Elliot get so freaked out if she was dead? Another giveaway that she's definitely alive is the fact that we see her breath on two different mirrors. The first time we see her breath is the big reveal to the audience. The second time we see her breath toward the end is the big reveal to Anna. And we finally get to see her reaction to finding out that she's been alive this whole time. But it's too late, and Elliot pumps her full of drugs one last time, and it's only a matter of time before it wears off again and she wakes up 6 feet under. This isn't meant to be annoying as a double reveal, but rather two reveals for two different audiences. So the breath being transferred from Anna to Paul was representative of the fact that he was going to now be Elliot's new victim. Anna was in a car accident with a white van at the beginning of the film, and we see Elliot driving this white van throughout the whole film. At Anna's funeral, Paul acts a fool and leaves in a rush because he still believes that she's alive. So he leaves to go dig her up from out of her grave. Elliot then goes after him, which isn't shown, but Paul gets into a car accident and we see an ambulance going toward him, and we then see Elliot and his new companion waiting for that ambulance as well. So with this visual representation of the baton being passed from Anna to Paul, we know what Paul's fate is about to be. But the writer does play with this idea that when we are close to death, our consciousness lives beyond our body, which is why Paul has this experience of digging Anna out of her grave when in fact he was being loaded up into Elliot's van. Fortunately or unfortunately, he isn't treated the same as Anna when he gets to the morgue. Elliot wanted to teach Anna a lesson in life, but with Paul, he's not interested in teaching him anything. When Paul wakes up on the autopsy table, Elliot immediately puts one of his tools into his heart, instantly killing him. probably because Paul has been suspicious this whole time and the same gag wouldn't work on him. At one point, we even see Elliot's collection of victims. He's got a ton of Polaroids on the wall of his Stark bedroom. There's no doubt that Elliot is insane because he is a murderer, but he might actually think that he can talk to the dead. There's one scene that he's clearly talking to a corpse, but I can't decide if he's doing it for show for Anna or if he's in his own mind having a full-blown conversation with this deceased man. Then we have poor Jack, and he's played by Chandler Canterbury. He's neglected at home, and we learn very early on that he has an obsession with death. He tries to go to the funeral with Anna, and he thinks that one of the chickies is dead when it's perfectly fine, and his mother looks like a corpse sitting in front of the TV 24/7. Anna seemed to be the only person who he had a positive relationship with. So when Jack found out that she died in a car crash, he went to the local funeral home where, you know, all of their funerals are happening, and he sees Anna. Jack then tells Paul, confirming Paul's suspicions, but Paul isn't really a great boyfriend, and Jack is starting to see that and calls him out on it. Paul then slaps Jack across the face at an elementary school. And yeah, that scene is a little bit ridiculous because I'm pretty sure the cops would have been there immediately to arrest this guy. Anyway, this is when Jack stops feeling sorry for Paul, and he then starts to sympathize more with Elliot's sociopathic ideologies. He begins to think like Elliot and thinks that it's okay to be the decider of who lives and dies based on their beliefs and actions. Jack was looking for a relationship with anyone who was offering, and Elliot was next in line, even though he was reluctant at first. I always love revisiting this film. I'm gonna give it 4.5 Rainbow Skulls out of 5, and I encourage you all to watch it immediately. As of March 2021, you can find it on Amazon. Thank you again for joining me today, and I do one subscriber request film review per month. So if you'd like your film to be put in the drawing, go ahead and subscribe and put your film in the comment section. I'll see y'all tomorrow with another spooky story narration, and I'll be back next week with another film review on Contracted. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, comment, and share. And if you want to join the Rainbow Fright Freight Train, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way you'll get notified every Thursday and Friday when I post more videos like this. All right, y'all. Peace.